Certain places around the globe have baffled scientists and scholars for decades. Locations with names like the Zone of Silence, the Gate of the Gods, and the Bermuda Triangle. Visitors to these mysterious sites believe we have been visited in the past by extraterrestrial beings. What if it were true? Did ancient aliens really help to shape our world? And if so, did they concentrate around specific locations? Could a better understanding of ancient alien visitation unlock the secrets behind some of the world's most mysterious places? Perhaps the most famous or infamous of all the world's mysterious places is the Bermuda Triangle. For decades, this stretch of ocean covering over 500,000 square miles between Miami, Puerto Rico, and Bermuda has baffled scientists, experienced sailors, and even military investigators. Planes disappearing, various kinds of strange lights being seen, a whole bunch of weirdness conglomerating into this very tight corner of the Atlantic. Ships have shown up absolutely empty, no sign of any struggle, and yet the crew has just vanished. This is something that's very real. They exist in records. And now that they're all gone in fair weather, that is not a supernatural phenomenon to me. That is something unexplained. What causes ships and planes to disappear without a trace? Why has aeronautical and navigational equipment stopped working or changed course by itself? Historical shipping records show that the mysteries of the Bermuda Triangle are much older than many people realize. Ever since the earliest days of oceanic exploration, sailors have witnessed strange sights. Really, the awareness of the Bermuda Triangle started with Christopher Columbus. Being such an esoteric navigator and a well-respected sailor, his log traversing to the New World is very accurate. It turns out that just as Columbus got into the area known as the Bermuda Triangle, he recorded having compass malfunctions. The following night, he saw a large fireball hit the ocean. He saw strange lights. He saw strange weather phenomena happening there. So it's definitely the case that the story of the Bermuda Triangle is not just some modern or urban myth. At the threshold of the 21st century, it is as old as there are accounts of people going into that area. About 450 years after Columbus, on December 5, 1945, the U.S. military experienced the Bermuda Triangle's most perplexing mystery. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 5 U.S. Navy torpedo bombers flew from a naval base in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, on a routine training exercise. But not long into the 2-hour mission, all 5 planes were suddenly gone. The mystery was compounded when the Navy sent out a rescue plane, and it too disappeared. 6 planes, all flown by skilled pilots, had vanished into oblivion. That struck everybody as very odd. This was now the modern era. We have radar, we have radio. Still, 5 aircraft vanished. Now the question is, where have all of them gone? It really is as if they have been snapped out of our reality into something else. And of course, what that something else is, that's the mystery of the Bermuda Triangle. Over the years, few have lived to tell of any strange anomalies that have occurred to them in the Bermuda Triangle. But American pilot Bruce Jernan is an exception. In 1970, Jernan, his father, and a business associate were flying from the Bahamas to Florida when Jernan reported seeing a strange cloud directly out in front of their plane. Then, as he approached, Jernan claims the cloud formed a donut-shaped hole, or vortex. The tunnel was huge at first, but then it started getting smaller rapidly. And when I penetrated into the tunnel, an incredible thing happened. These lines instantly formed. It was like looking down a rifle barrel, because the lines were swirling slowly counterclockwise. I encountered some intense electricity. There were flashes going on and off, and all I could see was this strange grayish-yellowish fog. I call it electronic fog. I noticed that my instruments were malfunctioning, and at the same time I'm feeling this unbelievable sensation. Jernan says when he finally exited the tunnel, he radioed Miami air traffic control, but they couldn't find his plane on their radar screen. And then about 3 minutes later, the radar controller came back on the radio, and he's all excited. He had identified me over Miami. And I couldn't believe it, because I'd only been flying for 33 minutes. It should have been more like an hour and 3 minutes. Could such a discrepancy in time and location really happen? And could extraterrestrials be using this kind of gateway to travel to Earth? According to Albert Einstein's general theory of relativity, it is possible. Through Einstein's principles of being able to bend space using a gravitational pull, it's very possible that extraterrestrial craft could somehow get a higher charge of energy from these locations, like the Bermuda Triangle, which allows them to do a burst of energy, if you will, a warp speed, and harness some type of extra particles or energies from these locations to get them where they're trying to go. What happens is that any time you have energy generated at all, especially from a higher plane, a higher dimension, it's going to come out by spin. It's going to be rotation and spin that allows that energy to get through. So by definition, such energy emissions are going to be vortexes. So a vortex and a gateway are the same thing. Since wormholes are theoretically located throughout the universe, could these same types of gateways exist in smaller areas on Earth? If so, are strange electromagnetic levels the key to discovering them? Completely unconnected people report the same thing, and it always has something to do with electromagnetic phenomena, usually involving an unexplained vapor or cloud. This phenomenon indicates UFOs materializing or dematerializing in our dimension. It's quite possible that the Bermuda Triangle is exactly one such interdimensional doorway that's used by these aliens. With reports of UFOs appearing and ships and planes disappearing, some claim the Bermuda Triangle is a portal that works in both directions. So if, as ancient astronaut theorists claim, otherworldly visitors have been using them to come here since ancient times, might we someday use this shortcut to visit them? And if there really is a portal in the open waters of the Bermuda Triangle, might there be others on land? 400 miles south of El Paso, Texas, in northern Mexico, stretches a remote and rugged section of high desert. This area near the town of Ceballos is referred to by the locals as the Zona del Silencio, or the Zone of Silence. It's an epicenter for some of the strangest phenomena ever experienced on Earth. Nothing works there. If you go with a cell phone, the cell phone stops. If you go with a radio, it stops. If you go with a compass, the needle just keeps spinning. It's completely bizarre. There's strange rocks everywhere. You have strange mutated animals living in the desert in this area. You feel a strange tingling when you're there. The Zone of Silence was first identified in the 1930s by Francisco Sarabia, a Mexican pilot who claimed that his radio had mysteriously failed to function while flying over the area. They call it Mexico's Bermuda Triangle. It's located practically on the same 26th and 28th parallels, and as a result of that, it connects with the Egyptian pyramids. So all around that whole sector, there seems to be some connection between the anomalies occurring in these different parts of the world. As a scientist, you're trained to be skeptical, or maybe you were born that way. But we really don't believe anything until you actually have evidence. But I can say that Earth's magnetic field does vary across the surface by up to a few %. One of the strangest cases involving the Zone of Silence took place on July 11, 1970, when the U.S. Air Force launched an Athena missile from its military facility in Green River, Utah. The missile was programmed to land 700 miles away at the White Sands Missile Range in New Mexico. But for some unexplained reason, the Athena missile flew hundreds of miles past the White Sands Range towards the Zone of Silence. Not only did it go off course, it way overshot, as if it had been picked up or yanked or dragged or pulled into it.